Hytale and Riot Games. It's a relationship many in the Hytale community have questioned, but that partnership seems to be paying off in a big way. Hey there friends, it's Codiak here. Welcome to Legacy Gaming. Today, we're taking a peek behind the curtain and breaking down some incredible new information about one of our most anticipated upcoming games, Hytale. Hytale is still a couple years away, but through all the communication blackouts and delays, it seems the team is hard at work building up a studio and putting some serious development into a game many can't wait to play. In a recent Riot event, the CEO of the company brought in Noxie and Moo to talk about the development of Hytale. One of the first and coolest things we got to see and hear about was some footage from inside Hypixel Studios. At the front door, we see those iconic Quebec wood carvings, but even cooler than that are the walls filled with community artwork. I'm not an artist by any stretch, but I know a good many of them in the Hytale community, and to see their work hanging on the walls of a studio they're massive fans of is just awesome. What I think surprised me the most about this entire mini-doc video was just how much gameplay footage they showed off, and that, my friends, is why I dusted off the old slow-mo machine so we could take a look at just how much newness the team revealed. The first clip shows a group of avatars meeting up on the edges of Zone 1 and 3. We see a number of different emotes, but probably the most striking thing is the pale green skin and glasses of this character here. We know that there are a number of different races players will have access to, and this could potentially be one of them. The wardrobe is tattered, which leads me to believe that this is some sort of undead race, or at the very least a character pretending to be an undead. I also love the over-ear headphones on this avatar here. The Hypixel logo on the sides is a great touch, and adds just a little more depth to a head accessory. We get another close-up shot of the group later on in the video, but I put them together so you can see things from afar and up close. Pay attention to all the emotes too. Lots of variety here, even in the simple things like waving. A little further along, we see a great shot from Zone 2. Some sort of bird, most likely a hawk, is flying through a small valley. On the left side, we have a cliff face, but on the right, we see an outpost guarded by two skeletal archers. At first, I was excited. I thought we were looking at a Farron outpost, but after doing a super zoom on one of these archers, I was able to make out that they are indeed skeletons. A nice tracking shot follows the bird to the end of the valley, and in the background, we see a really interesting deviation of that Zone 2 biome. You'll notice the transition from light sandy blocks to darker blocks, and those white things sticking up are giant rib bones. It's one of those things you look at and go, man, that's an awesome place. I better go check that out because there's definitely some awesome loot there. Later in the video, we actually see an avatar doing just that. Notice the sandstorm effect that completely changes the affect of the biome. This wanderer looks like a magic user of some sort with a big staff and robes that remind me of a druid or a priest. Hard pivot to something completely different. We see Connor jumping around Quebec Village somewhere in Zone 1. I may be mistaken, but I believe this is the first time we've ever seen a Quebec in this sort of tribal outfit. The shawl and skirt make for a really interesting look for the character, and in the background we even see an elder Quebec talking to a seedling and a young Quebec, as well as some other Quebecs flitting in and around the frame. I do believe this is the first time we've seen a Quebec at every stage of their life cycle in the same image, which is really neat. This faction of woodland creatures is quickly becoming a fan favorite, so it's great to see them getting so much attention. If you're a builder, you're going to love this next scene. Obviously, one of the biggest selling points to Hytale is just how much they're expanding block building, and we all see it in full effect in this next clip. A group of players working together to build a little outpost in Zone 2. There's so much going on here in this one clip, so let's zoom in and take a quick look. Moving from left to right, we see a player-made brazier, fire and all, a small wooden doghouse, a basic porch with a number of small items propped up by an awning, a character going into a chest, most likely pulling out some crafting materials, some more decorative blocks used to create an entryway roof, a small ladder, a large main building made primarily out of brown blocks, a potential skylight of some sort, it's kind of hard to tell, a pair of big ornate entryway doors, and some supply crates. We haven't had an image like this in quite a while, so it's great to see, and personally, I love the fact that we're spending so much time in Zone 2, an area that's been a bit neglected when it comes to showcasing new Hytale images and footage. If you thought we were going to do an entire video without talking about combat, well, you'd be wrong. For the first time, we see a character dual-wielding daggers, using a lunge attack to close the gap and strike at a group of goblins. I also want to point out the fact that the goblins in the back are clearly reacting to what's happening up front. We see a number of question marks and exclamation points above their head, which to me is part of the aggro mechanic in the game. I also want to point out that the character uses a secondary ability, a dash forward, to reach the back two goblins, and right next to her, the sword and shield character uses a charge ability almost to the same effect. Cut to the next scene, and our avatars are about to descend into a cave. As you can see, the green fella has replaced the shield with a torch, and as we pan down into the depths of the cave, we see a number of pots, fungi, a small little hovel, and some creatures sleeping or knocked out. It's kind of hard to say. Eventually, our adventurers reach the treasure room, guarded by a number of goblins. Now, we did see this scene in a still image before, but it's great to see it all come to life, almost like the Mines of Moria. Speaking of combat, it was great to finally see some PvP elements showcased in the game. It's been a minute since we saw anything regarding those systems, and while it wasn't much, it was nice to see player versus player action make a comeback. In a rather elaborate combat sequence, we see two armored players duking it out, one with a massive hammer, the other with those dual-wield daggers we talked about before. While it wasn't clear at the start, I realized by the end the goal was to force the other player into the pit of fire. We see a number of combat mechanics at play here, including basic attacks by both the hammer user and the dagger user, a diving thrust from the dagger user, a diving slam from the hammer user, an aerial dash from the dagger user, and a ton of knockback abilities between the two. PvP is an important part of the fabric of the Hypixel Minecraft servers, and they made it crystal clear in this video that they want to bring that audience over to Hytale when the time is right. In this quick shot, you can actually see the avatars run past a number of minigame statues with icons on the base representing different games. Starting from left to right, we see icons for Bed Wars, Build Battle, Paintball Wars, The Walls, and Sky Wars. I also just want to mention that these statues are awesome. I missed it the first few times through the trailer, but these are really well designed. As if we didn't get enough, the team finally revealed the Hytale model maker and asset editor, and I've got to imagine this sent an incredible ripple of excitement throughout the community. This is easily one of the most talked about features, and up until this point, it's been a complete mystery. In this first scene here, we see someone manipulating the sunlight colors in the grasslands. In an instant, the world changes completely, all by using a color picker controlling that one aspect of the world. I also want to point out the other zone titles on the left-hand bar, and guys, this is big. We see categories for the drylands, firelands, grasslands, poisonlands, skylands, and snowlands. If we look back at one of the first images of Orbis, it's pretty clear that these all relate to the various zones. Grasslands being Zone 1, drylands being Zone 2, snowlands being Zone 3, firelands Zone 4, and here is where things get kind of interesting. My guess is that Zone 5 is the Skylands, and Zone 6 is the Poisonlands. Really excited to learn more about these in the future. We also get a look at the model side of things. We can clearly see a Twerk is loaded up now, and the player manipulating the editor has a ton of flexibility to manipulate the creature in a myriad of ways. There are a lot of categories and options on this one page, and it's definitely worth pausing the video to take a look around. Giving players control of the world has been a pillar of design since the very beginning, and we see it in action again in this next scene where a player is building a sort of tower, able to manipulate the entire structure in one move. We also see a number of cool things in this scene, like a well, the small garden and tools in the foreground, and that outpost in the back. This is clearly a scene from Zone 3, but as you can see, we're in a more lush part of that zone, as compared to the snowy tundra that many associate with this area of Orbis. Jumping to Zone 4, we see a group of avatars sneaking through a jungle, weapons in hand, and yes, that is an AK-47. In the foreground, we see a raptor looking on, ready to pounce, Predator style. Whether it's the lush fields of Zone 1 or the arid peaks of Zone 3, this video showcased so much of Hytale's progression. We do still see and get information in bits and pieces, but this is great to see so many different things all come together in one video. Like I said before, we are still years away from Hytale, and while that's not what the community had hoped for originally, it's clear that the work is still being done to make the best possible game and live up to the vision so many of us have created in our heads. If this is your first time hearing about Hytale, that's great. It's been an incredible journey so far, and I can honestly say being part of this community is unlike anything else I've ever experienced in gaming. There are a number of incredible creators, artists, and avid fans that have supported the game since day one, including Livid and myself, so if you are interested in Hytale and you want to follow along with its development ahead of launch, do me a solid, hit that thumbs up, and subscribe. Yes, we're still years away, but we'll be covering all the major news here on the channel and have a ton of plans for launch, so get locked in today and don't miss a thing. The best way to do that is by joining us on Discord. We've got a special section dedicated just for Hytale, so check out that link below and join over 7,000 members spread across dozens of incredible games. Finally, if you guys like everything we're doing here at Legacy Gaming and you want to support us even more, you can now do so by becoming a member. For just a couple bucks, you're helping evolve the channel and take our community to that next level. Check out the join button below to learn more. My name is Codiak, and from everyone here at Legacy Gaming, thanks for watching, and play on.